Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Schultz, and I am joined by my good buddy, Clinton Bonner. As Clinton, we are approaching the release of the Seahawks 2025 schedule. I think we pretty much have seen all the leaks, but it's not official until they officially release it.
Not official to the official, about 13 more minutes before it's very, very official. But yes, we've seen them. They're leaking like a sieve. I thought the NFL maybe did a better job this year of keeping the lid on a little tighter, but with a little bit of time to go, it's all out there, Brandon. I'm excited to talk about this. And you know me, I want to open, Google Flights right now and start just pecking away and find out where we're headed, Brandon.
We've got Hector Mark in the chat saying, hooray, it's schedule day. We've got David Phillips. We've got Jason Bonnert. And we've got Marlon first in with the super chat, $1.99. A big thanks to Marlon.
That's super cool of you, dude. Thank you. Yeah, seeing some flockers piling in, and we appreciate it too. Because I know I think we tweeted earlier, it was like it's like Christmas Day, but at night and in May, and it's great. I love this. I don't know. It's like what are the advent calendars, right? The advent calendars, you got to go one by one, like day by day. Not this one, Brandon. You get the whole caboodle. You see the whole darn thing, all 17 games, and there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about here, man. It's an interesting schedule. I know we're going to get into all the games, so I don't want to get too over my skis here, but there's some cool and some good way quirkiness about this, and some of the big games have some really cool things that I poked around and found out also about, like when our opponents come to town and like what are we doing the week before that? What are they doing the week before that? So I'm excited to poke at that with you too, dude.
Well, and we're going to have another episode coming up with Dave Bloomquist, who every year takes a look and analyzes our schedule in comparison with some of the other NFC rivals. And it's always a good way to kind of look at that and consider just how our schedule ends up shaking out compared to the rivals. It's really tough to do that on the fly on schedule release day. So give Bloomy a couple days. He usually breaks it down, is able to look and really see like how it shakes out in terms of rest days, how it shakes out in terms of, guys coming, other teams coming off buys, who they're coming off buys with, and who they're facing, just ahead of us. So kind of a fun way to look at it. And Clinton, I think we can talk about at least some of the games because one of the things the NFL likes to do is they like to leak certain games just to kind of give us a taste. I think it was even a couple days ago that we heard, was it a couple days ago? I'm losing track of time, that we heard that it was going to be a home opener against the San Francisco 49ers. That was one of the leaks that I think I saw first.
Yeah, for me too. That was, I think, the first piece of the puzzle that came to us. Maybe that's our little advent calendar right there, right? That we got to see the first night. And a home opener versus our absolute. I mean, I hate the Rams. I think the Rams are the better team versus the Niners, but boy, do I hate me some 49ers. They're my number one sports hate. And having them at home week one, Brandon, I don't know about you. I asked you in the preview show, which lots of people tuned into, the preview to the preview. I was like, hey, home opener, is it cool if we just play a rando team like the Colts, or do you want that extra juice of playing a division rival? And you were like, well, let's talk about that. And you went into that's you like it. You like the juice. So you like the juice, you got the juice, but also you unearthed, I remember, that playing San Francisco maybe earlier in September could be good for our deal, Brandon.
It was, I think it worked out, right? When you play the San Francisco 49ers in September, the home team wins. And so with that being our home game, that is advantageous to the Seahawks. Getting them in October, not so great because the visiting team, I guess it'd be great if we had the home game in September and then the visiting game in October and front load those games. It's not looking out like that's the way it's going to go. But at the very least, since 2017, the home team has won. And generally, through, before the bye week were the statistics, and that the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan generally had a losing record.
Yes, boo friggity who, and they probably will again this year because at 6-11 and with an aging team, I know they have a quote unquote easy schedule, but so do we, and they're not that good. So I hope that we're not in for the 2023 treatment when we thought the same of the Rams, and the Rams came to town and waxed us. So I'm not going to get too cocky. However, confidence is high, Brandon, that Mike Macdonald, an entire offseason to prepare for the 49ers, coming to the Pacific Northwest. I like our chances, man. This is a cool home opener, dude.
Marlon makes a good point about that week 1 game. The only worry about week 1 is if CMC is healthy. And that could be a question. He's coming off of injury from the previous season, so whether or not he can be fully recovered, it's so tough to tell with Christian McCaffrey, because that he's been injured. He had the one injury-free season. We're like, whoa, how about that? He did that
a whole year.
He can come at any time, and so it's really difficult to try and count on, or not count on, when that might be. If it's early in the season, late in the season, tough to know.
Well, they are an aging team, and we're talking about the 49ers for those who might have just tuned in, and that is our week 1 opponent at home. They are who they are. They're aging. And so my expectation is that after a full off season, we're catching them basically as healthy as they're going to be. So that might be a little bit of the downside there, because Kittle will miss usually 2 to 3 games during the year. He tweaks something. It's an ankle. It's a knee. The dude, he's awesome. I'm a big Kittle fan. I can't even say anything about him. Trent Williams at 37 years old, think going into his 38th league year here, will be 38 this year. I think he's up there too. So for him to make it all the way through, it's a lot to ask also. And CMC has just been, he's a running back who gets a ton of touches and therefore gets dinged. So the one downside is, we could expect them to be healthy, but Brandon will be healthy. We're going to be all cylinders firing with this D-line, and with maybe some new exotic packages, and seeing even Worry out there in the nickel. I don't know, color me intrigued at least, Brandon, but I'm confident that come week 1, we're going to get that dub. It's going to be great.
We've got, am I still here? Am I able to, I'm not able to press buttons now. And I got a weird email that I've been logged out.
Oh, well, you're still here. So okay. You're still here, but let's just move this back. So let's see if we get the right sizing. They're all okay, but you're here. I could drive if you want me to put anything up on screen.
You may need to drive. It's not let me press buttons anymore.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is karma. Who did we ban the other day when they okey doked us?
It was Marlon.
It was Marlon. Okay, so yeah, Marlon. That was great. Marlon played a little trick on us and said a audio wasn't playing, and I believed him. But I'm also funny is funny to me. So it was a good gag.
I was trying to bring up the comment from Daniel Smith saying, get the first Sam Darnold revenge game out of the way.
There we go. Right. So so we got the Vikings, of course, later in the year, and home versus the Niners. Well, that'll be twice. And that's it, right? There's not another. Oh no, the Panthers. Wow. And the Panthers. Wow. So we have 4 Sam Darnold revenge games to get to this year. So good call, Daniel. Love that. Okay. So we talked week 1. We know the schedule official is not coming out, but we kind of know what it is. Do you want to traverse down? You want to give it a few minutes? What's your pleasure?
We kind of know what it is. Why don't we start? I think the first 4 games ended up getting leaked. And so, and coming from pretty solid Seahawks sources. So if you want to bring up the schedule review slide with Mr. Leonard Williams, then we can start with that, and we can talk a little bit more about the Niners, and then move on to week 2.
Okay, sounds good to me. And I think we have another. There you go. You got your Niners slide up there, perfect. And I think it's time to also now just bring him right in. He's getting there, popping in the mints. Look at him go, Adam. What's up, dude? The schedule is being released as we speak. Lots of leaks out there. Are you coming in hot? Do you know anything? Or are you coming in blind?
Well, as always, blind. And secondly, not mince. That was daddy candy. So a little heartburn. We're gonna take care of that. But yeah, schedule coming out, man. And it's kind of when it feels like things start to get real. So kind of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. Okay, so since you're coming in blind, let's hit you with something right away. Brandon had to bounce for a second. He'll be right back.
Okay.
And we're just having some StreamYard challenges. Like our scenes have disappeared and some of our branding elements have disappeared. So bear with us.
It didn't want to let me log in either. It said that there was other people online in our thingy. So I don't know. I logged somebody out from Napa. So I don't know.
Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting. Well, if anybody out there knows what's happening, it sounds like we've been hacked. I repeat, I think the Seahawks podcast has been hacked, but that's okay. But let's hack our way into this schedule. We had some graphics that Brandon could re-upload in a second as he joins us again. But so since you're coming in blind, dude, week 1 is a home game. Who do you want to play week 1? Who do you want to get into, Adam?
Who do I want to get into week 1? The Cards.
The Cards. It's not the Cards, but it's the dirty 49ers coming to town week 1. What's your initial gut reaction to that?
That'll be my second choice out of the division with all the turnover that the 49ers have had this offseason and some of the uncertainty that's swirled around that team. And I think it's going to be better to see them a little earlier in the schedule as they're trying to put it together with a very different roster than they've had in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Before you hopped on, we were talking a bit about, okay, that means we'll like quote unquote get them as healthy as they're going to be, likely, but so will we. We'll be as healthy as we're going to be as well. And with that, I don't know. I'm looking forward to our defensive line causing some erratic and early and often purdy turdies there, Adam. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That'd be a lot of fun. And, you think about the pass rushers at this point when you're looking at Mafe and Hall and then Nwosu coming back from injury and obviously the free agent signing of DeMarcus Lawrence, and you're too deep on both sides, the left and the right. And that's exciting. That could be a really fun group. You pair that with Leo inside and Byron Murphy going to take his jump, I predict, for year 2 here. And that could be a fearsome unit.
Hey, Brandon, Adam left somebody out. He didn't mention Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge for 3 sacks when we get him for a second-round pick. I'm not sure why he didn't say that.
I don't know. I was trying to decide if you guys could even see me anymore because I was weirdly logged into Napa, Idaho, and somebody logged me out, apparently.
Oh, that would have been me. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it said you had 3 things logged in, 3 Chromes.
Oh, all right. Well, good for me.
Okay.
I repeat, I believe you've been hacked. That's my best guess.
Why are we talking about Trey Hendrickson?
Oh, because we're going to trade for him and he's going to get 3 sacks week 1 versus the Niners. That's all. That's why.
Well, why do we need a Trey Hendrickson when we have a Nick Emanwari who is already planning on laying 49ers players out? One of the quotes that we got from him, he was asked if he'd like to get, I think it was an interception or like a big hit. And he said, well, it kind of depends on who we're playing. He says, if we're playing the 49ers, then I want to lay a dude out.
Like, look, he knows how to play to the audience, right? So he's going to get the opportunity. I would think Emanwari will get out there again. There's the rumors about him slotting into a big nickel for his kind of first assignment, if you will. And frankly, for me, that's the stuff I think he actually does really well out of the box, although it's kind of in the box, but you get the gist. Yeah. Adam,
speaking of leaks,
yeah.
Did you hear Pete Carroll on 710 on Seattle Sports today?
I didn't hear it, but I know what the content is.
We got a preseason date leaked ahead of the schedule release. And normally that's not that big of a deal because who cares about preseason? But when it's preseason week 1 and it's versus the Raiders and Pete Carroll, that's kind of fun. That's a fun way to start off the year, not against the 49ers, but officially regular season against the 49ers, but the first game of the season against Pete Carroll and the Raiders.
That is interesting. Is that going to be down in Vegas or is that at Lumen? Do we know that yet?
Pete did not, he didn't go that far as to leak exactly what that part of it was.
Gotcha.
I am unsure.
Do you have a preference?
Do I have a preference? Yeah, I want Pete back in Lumen.
I thought maybe you wanted a Vegas trip in August there.
Yeah, sure. I've been to Vegas exactly one time, and that was one time too many. I plan to never go back there if I get the opportunity to make that happen throughout my life, let alone have it be in August, like GR double gross. No, thank you.
I love Vegas. Vegas is great. It's fun.
What? No, everything there is
fun.
fake.
I get fake. Sometimes fake things can be fun. Look, the Matrix, plug me in. You know, I could be naive, but the steak is still delicious, dude. It's fine. It can be fun, man. Vegas is fun.
If you say so. My time there, that's honestly where the jelly and jam thing comes from, when like you're going to jelly it down somebody's throat. That came from a joke I heard from two dudes from Jersey in a Denny's in Vegas. So
I don't think we need to go any deeper into that, but
no, I kept it clean. Yeah.
Marlon's saying it's officially out.
Yes,
it would be great if the Seahawks.com/schedule. And there it is. It is week 1 Raiders, and it is at Lumen Field, Adam.
Hey, all right. Yeah, I'd be into that.
That's cool. That's cool for Pete. And it gives a game that, you know, otherwise you really wouldn't care. I mean, yeah, you want to go see the rookies. If you got the if you got the tickets, cool. Maybe you take the trip, maybe you don't. But now that's a very special reason to go literally stand up for the guy and clap for him, and then go see Gino and company too.
I was going to say, we're all officially cheering for Pete and for Gino when they come back to the stadium wearing the wrong colors.
Oh yeah. You better be cheering for Pete Carroll when he comes out of the tunnel.
I would think so. Come on.
I mean, he should be doing he should be like raising the 12th flag. That'd be something. Why not? Let him do the flag and kind of zip line down.
Heck,
if anybody could, it'd be Pete.
Yeah, that or paraglide down. I could see Pete doing that. Yeah, that'd be a good time. All right, so we got Raiders week 1 in preseason. Let's roll out the rest of the preseason games here, Brandon. What else do we got?
Next up is the Kansas City Chiefs, also at Lumen Field. And then we close out the preseason at Lambeau.
Wow. Okay.
So, some interesting preseason opponents there.
I'm okay with that. That's like, it's the preseason, so kind of who cares? And also 2 out of those 3 teams are hard teams that are most of those teams, Chiefs and Packers, are more difficult than our actual schedule. So I'll give that a big time huzzah, especially another huzzah, Brandon, maybe what's on the screen right there, dude.
Yeah, Pork Adobo coming in with 5 gifted memberships to our YouTube channel. So yeah, thanks to Pork Adobo for putting that in there.
That's awesome. And just remember, thank you, Pork. I just call him Pork now. But remember, all you got to do, if you engage with the show, meaning you like it, you drop comments, you watch it, basically then the YouTube algorithm gods will just decide who gets it. But the more you interact, the better your chances. And if you get one, it'd be really, really cool if you want to send a super chat or gift, pay it forward and just gift a membership and kind of pay it forward that way too. But Pork, doing the Lord's work there, dude. Thank you so much. It's awesome.
Carly saying she loves the reveal video out on X. Those are always fun when you get to see those. That's something we'll have to check out after this. But let's move on to week 2.
Yes.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers home opener against our Seattle Seahawks. DK Metcalf versus his former team. And it's going to be a 10 a.m. start time in Pittsburgh against Mike Tomlin, where we have a chance to even it up against the Steelers all time. The Steelers have 11 wins. We have 10 historically. So yeah, we can bring that back to even, gentlemen.
That'd be cool. I'd wonder what our record is in Pittsburgh, because it doesn't feel good. Like, I feel like every time we end up in Pittsburgh, it's not a great day for the Seahawks.
Yeah, it's bad. I know we are bad at Heinz Field. I don't think we've won there in a while. The interesting part will be who's the quarterback. Like, right now they don't really have one, right? So this literally could be Will Howard. Is it Mason Rudolph, the current quarterback still? I think he is. And then of course they might sign Aaron Rodgers, but there's a team coming up in week 3 that also now might sign Aaron Rodgers. But besides the QB stuff, I'm kind of thrilled, guys, that we don't get a late November, early December slogfest in Pittsburgh. This is going to be November 4th. I mean, this is September 14th, second week of September in Western Pennsylvania. You're going to see a trend here with the weather gods. I think they kind of blessed the Seahawks quite a bit with this schedule. So this is the first of quite a few dudes where, I mean, okay, it could rain. It could be totally windy. It is Pennsylvania, but should be pretty good weather. So excited for that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that we really that we wanted to see, was how some of these games weather-wise would play out. And Pittsburgh was probably one of the first ones where you're saying that just feels like a game they would give to the Seahawks in December. Instead, I don't know if it's that much better in terms of emotions and that sort of thing, being the Steelers' home opener, but fun road game to start off the first road game of the season.
Yeah.
I just like Seattle's record against Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So I am looking forward to that.
To answer your question, though, at Heinz Field, the last win was in 2019, but we rarely play at Heinz Field. So it's, every 4 years. And there was an overtime loss the last time we played in Pittsburgh. Then we won in 2019. And then in Pittsburgh, let's see, there was a 24-0 shutout back in 2011. So probably that's what you're feeling.
We've hit the Tavares Jackson edge there. So RIP to Tavares, and I think we can move on then, right?
New Orleans Saints, week 3. This is going to be in Seattle at Lumen Field. Seahawks have a 10-8 record against the Saints. I whenever I picture the Saints, I know I picture Michael Bennett toting the rock.
Yeah, that's a fun image, no doubt about it. Playing the Saints has often gone well for the Seahawks, and like seeing them at home. That'll be nice. Obviously, no Derek Carr. He retires with the bad shoulder and all his millions he gets to keep along the way there too. So keep getting them checks, Derek Carr. Happy for you, buddy. But I mean, what you're looking at, either Shuck or Spencer Rattler coming in. Man, Clinton, you mentioned that defense teeing off and being aggressive and making it hard on maybe Brock Purdy early in the year. This is one where I look at and I go, oh man, this could be a feast here. Especially if they bring in one more corner, like they've been talking about Shaq Griffin, or maybe they trade for Alexander from the Packers or something like that. Yeah. And make that a more complete defense, but I think they're going to give the Saints fits. Not a murderer's row quarterback wise the first 3 weeks. So that's kind of a nice way to start the season.
Yeah. So they were also saying that now Aaron Rodgers might end up with the Saints because he's not committed, yet to the Steelers. You don't think so, huh?
There's a 0% chance that happens. And I'll tell you why. Are the Saints anywhere near making the playoffs this year?
No.
I mean, the Steelers make the playoffs every year, and he may even win a game. Who knows? But if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're looking to go out and get the stench of the Jets off of you and try to, resurrect the legend of Aaron Rodgers a little bit, you're going to want to go to the Steelers for sure. I mean, you got a legit target in DK. I don't know. Is Olave going to be back again this year? I don't know. He seems to be hurt all the time. So I don't know. I like the Pittsburgh situation for him better.
Well, I do like the idea of it being the Tyler Shuck or Rattler show. And then also with Kellen Moore, and what are they going to do offensively? Because Kellen Moore runs quite a different offense than Clint Kubiak did and does, right? So we saw some things from Spencer Rattler last year. They were like, okay, he's functioning in a pretty run heavy offense with Kubiak. The Kellen Moore offense is really wildly different. And can he do the things that Kellen Moore likes to do, pushing the ball? We'll see. Can either of those guys do it? So yeah, I kind of like our chances there too, boys. Brock Purdy is by far the best quarterback right now that we faced in the first 3 weeks. And, I think we're going to heat him up too. So far, so good, boys. I like it.
Well, and I like too getting a first-year head coach early on in the season too.
Yeah.
I think, those are the types of games like where they're really trying to figure things out on the fly, because I mean, until you're in that head coaching spot and doing the things. I think that it probably takes you a few weeks to kind of get things figured out in those first few weeks, how you want to operate. And so early on, I think that's a little bit to our advantage.
Yeah. For me, when I saw this one, I was like, ooh, maybe that's one where I'd come out to Seattle, potentially. And then I was like, oh man, because it's kind of cool. It's still, early. It's still September, so probably better weather, et cetera, et cetera. New Orleans, probably a dub. And it's actually going to be my 20th wedding anniversary, like right around there. So I don't think I can make that one, but maybe
Your
later.
20th anniversary. Why is your wife not treating you to a football game on your 20th?
Isn't it your present to her to like leave for a weekend and give her just a weekend to herself so that she can have a good time?
You know what? This is you guys, facts, logic, and reason across the board here, right?
Just saying. Yeah.
You ain't wrong.
Week 4, the Seahawks are going on the road for the first prime time game of the season, Thursday night football at Arizona, taking on Jonathan Gannon, where we have a very strong showing against the Cardinals. They're coming off kind of a middling season, but could they be on the way up, Adam?
It's possible. They always seem to play teams a lot tougher earlier in the season and have their late season swoon. So I guess getting them for the first time around this early, maybe not the greatest thing, but then again, this is a team that I don't know that I completely understand the direction that they're going in, especially trying to build around Kyler. And it's like, man, just get rid of the guy and just start over like that. It's just so obvious that you're not going anywhere with him as quarterback. The fun thing about your graphic though, Brandon, is that's the most excited a Cardinals fan will be all year right there.
That's because he's not at his home stadium. He's outside of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball stadium, and he looks so happy to be there.
Oh,
maybe that's where their fans are actually going on game day.
Maybe.
That's funny. He's got a solid goat for all credit due to his goatee. The Cardinals are coming off a game versus the dirty 49ers, and it's just a regular Sunday game. So we'll both be on regular old short rest. And, a Thursday night football game early in the year. Can't say I love that. It's just like, whatever. I mean, the schedule is what it is. So you got to go play it. And we were talking about like a road trip game that would have been really cool to maybe go see Phoenix for different reasons. But from that perspective, I think a Thursday night game probably takes that road trip off the table for this one for me. So from that selfish perspective, I'm like, dang, I wish this was.
You can't go to. You're not allowed into the state on weekdays.
I don't know. Would it be as fun? Is it as fun as a Sunday? I don't know.
You mean turn it into a 4-day weekend?
You're self-employed now. You can take whatever days you want to go somewhere, and you bring your own fun, man. That's what you do. Of course, it'd be fun on a Thursday. It's an NFL football game.
Okay, fine.
Plus, it's prime time, and there's going to be a ton of Seahawks fans there. Okay. How could that not be awesome?
I'm starting to get warm to the idea.
It's going to be our first home game of the season that we go to.
Yeah. I'm with you guys about not being very sold on the Cardinals. I think better, but I don't think they're great yet. So when we're starting with the 4 teams we're starting with, I think it's a favorable schedule for the first the 17 games, first quarter of the season. I think the scheduling makers did us a kind of a solid here, guys. I think that's a pretty okay way to get out of the gate.
Well, we've got a favor from the schedule makers. Hopefully we get a favor from the uniform department. Ooh. And we go full on throwbacks for week 5 against the Tampa Bay Bucks. How about they get in their creamsicles? We wear our throwbacks for the first home game of the year, week 5 in Seattle, where, we can feel like it's 1976 all over again.
Yeah, that would be a fun look. No doubt about it. Bucks are a dangerous team this year. They're looking. I like what they did in the draft. They added the kid from Ohio State to that receiver room with Godwin coming off an injury, and Mike Evans obviously healthy again, and Baker kind of resurrecting his career down there. And their defense is always tough. So this is going to be a tough one here, and probably the first, I would say, big test of the new Seattle offensive line with the rookie in there in whoever else wins out at right guard, I guess. So
Mhm.
we'll see how it goes.
This is one where I would have preferred Tampa to come to Seattle a little bit later, just because the weather should still be pretty okay. And if you could catch a South Florida team in November, December, Seattle weather, I think the advantage shifts to you a bit. However, Baker's used to it, and obviously it's all going to run through him and those wide receivers and Bucky Irving. One little bit of intrigue here is if you guys had to pick a team the Buccaneers had to face the week before they come to Seattle, who would you like them to face?
Who was the team? Was it the Eagles? Whoever they played, they lost the next week, or was that the Chiefs? I can't remember.
I think it was the Eagles.
Yeah.
It was the Eagles. They play week 4 at home, so in Tampa, versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and they got to get in a long ass flight and come to the PNW, and maybe the Eagles still have that just beating teams up like we did in like 2013, 2014. The week after you played Seattle back then was usually bad news bears for
you're going to be beat up by the Eagles. They're going to have to throw on a sweater with it being October in Seattle. The weather advantage and the team advantage. This is a guaranteed dub.
Love it.
Yeah, especially with that long flight. I'm not going to take long flights as an excuse or reason as to why teams perform well or not well. What 6 hours tops, whatever it is, from Tampa to Seattle, and give me a break.
That's about as long as you can fly, and so it's going to be tough for them. They're used to being in Florida.
A whole 6 hours, and they're flying recliner in the sky. Poor babies.
Okay, well, the Eagles part. How about that?
Yeah, that I buy into completely. Yeah.
All right, perfect.
All right, Jacksonville, week 6.
Great picture.
Now the tables have turned as we have to fly all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida for a 10 a.m. start time and go against their first-year head coach, Liam Cohen, Clinton.
Well, first of all, for those watching on youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast, the image you chose is amazing because, I mean, what are you going to do? Put up a picture of Trevor Lawrence, or was it BTJ, who's a good wide receiver? Sure. You could do Travis Hunter, but no, Brandon goes Jackson DeVille, the Speedo wearing mascot who is
not any Speedo, American flag Speedo.
True. It's right. Like the Apollo Creed Speedo of Speedos. And Jackson DeVille is, I think he's probably the best mascot in the league. He's hilarious. He's great. Sorry, Blitz. You could step up your game.
Now it's your turn, Blitz. Throw on a Speedo to start the season. Win Clinton over.
Yeah, this guy's great. Jacksonville is, I don't know what to think of Jacksonville at all. When I talk about the weather gods smiling upon us, the schedule makers making it okay. Brandon, you talked about being in Jacksonville in September might be too hot in the hot tub. That's pitched in the 90s still typically. Well, second week of October, still warm, I'm sure, but it certainly probably won't be one of those days that you're just baking in like 95-degree weather. So that's advantageous. I don't know what to think of this team. I think they could be okay. Obviously, Travis Hunter, exciting. How will he be used? We don't know. We really don't know. If he's exclusively a cornerback or just getting in a little bit wide receiver, then I look forward to, JSN working him and putting the rookie kind of in his place a little bit. Adam, any other thoughts about these Jaguars? They're a little confusing to me because I just don't know how good their quarterback is. I don't know what to think of their new head coach. I think he's okay, but will it gel? What are your thoughts, man?
I think they're one of the more interesting teams in the league this year, just with all of the changes that you're talking about. And we all know with Trevor Lawrence, the raw talent is there, and we've seen it pop out for stretches. And so it's a matter of a coach coming in and really being able to do a lot with that. And we saw Liam Cohen continue the Baker Sance back there in Tampa, and to see if he really is one of those guys that's a little like Mike Macdonald when he was hired, kind of a short tenure as a coordinator, but one of the hot names. Jacksonville jumps some early. They bring in Travis Hunter. I think that Liam Cohen can get better play out of Lawrence as a whole. and it's gonna be interesting to see if they can kind of pull together on defense and start to be a little bit more competitive on that side of the ball. But we all look at our chops at the AFC South, and I think for the most part, like I look at a lot of the AFC South teams, I'm like, I know who they are. I feel good about that matchup. The Jags are the ones that I think I probably have the most questions about.
Well, speaking of popping out and licking our chops, I'm not going to mention that graphic. We've got Ryan 911 coming in with a super chat, our live executive producer saying, "Go Hawks."
Amazing. Always awesome job. And Ryan is affectionately known as Frost in our Discord. And within that, we call him Coach. So thank you, Coach. Yes, Coach. Great job. And I'm so excited to hang out with our flockers wherever we end up, and also in our Discord, like every single Sunday, and these other games too, because there's no better place to be, dudes.
Well, we are ping-ponging back and forth across the country now, and we're back home. Monday Night Football, the first real primetime game. The Thursday night ones, they're kind of primetime. I think of real primetime as Sunday night and Monday night, and we're facing CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans, a team that we've got their number, boys. They've only won against us one time, and one time only. So here we go against DeMeco Ryans, CJ Stroud, and kind of middling offense and defense. But this is a team, Clinton, that loaded up on offense in the draft this year.
They took every wide receiver I coveted. So that was cool. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see. It's at a point in the season where we're talking week 7, and they have a bye the week before. So they have enough time to figure out what's by week 7, like what's the right complement of wide receivers. And is Tank Dell back? Nico Collins, I think, is a legit one. They go and draft Jaden Higgins early second round. And then a couple of rounds later, they get Jalen Knoll from Iowa State. It's a really interesting wide receiver core. Can they block at all for Stroud when they lost Tunsil? We'll see. We'll see how that goes against our defensive line. This game is probably going to be, when we end up covering it and previewing it all the way in week 7, probably really simplistic, Adam. Like, do we heat up Stroud? Can we? Did we? Yes or no? Because if he's allowed to kind of go at those targets, I think they advantage Texans. But, they literally jettison their left tackle. So where the heck are the Texans in your eyes?
Texans are another interesting team. I think the first question becomes, does CJ Stroud look like your one CJ Stroud, or does CJ Stroud look like your two CJ Stroud? And I think traditionally you see after the sophomore slumps, guys put it back together and have a better year. And I'm a big Stroud believer. And so I think we're going to see a better version of Stroud this year than if we had faced him last year. Also, the offensive coordinator, Slowick there, he's got a lot to prove after being such a hot name in the coaching search after year 1. And then after that, having the poor year last year. But Tunsil gone, offensive line and flux a little bit. They draft for the perimeter instead of the O-line, or an O-line thick draft. That would be a draft that I would throw my remote at the TV if I was a Texans fan. That would frustrate me. Not that they're not good receivers. It's just, hey, maybe let's block first before we worry about receivers. That defense is going to be a good defense yet again. DeMeco Ryans is a great defensive coach, and this is going to be a tussle, man. But if I'm reading the schedule here correctly, Brandon, 2 weeks in a row with 2 games in a row with a little extra rest, because you're coming off the Thursday night game at the Cardinals, then go to Jacksonville, and then a Monday night football game here against the Texans the following week. So 2 weeks in a row, a little extra rest, despite the long flight.
Well, I think we skipped a week there though.
Did we?
Brandon,
okay,
yeah.
I don't have it pulled up in front of me.
Because you got the TNF with the Cardinals, then the Bucks, and then the Jags. But
all right,
but
never mind.
But in that sandwich, though, to your credit, the bread of that sandwich is extra rest for the Bucks, and then a little extra rest for the Texans. So yeah, so on the edges there, 2 times extra rest.
Well, one other correction while we're throwing it out there. Nick Caley, the new offensive coordinator for the Texans, fired
really?
This offseason. So,
man, I missed that.
Yeah, he will not get a chance to prove himself again unless it's with another team.
Dang.
Well, you fell pretty fast.
Yeah. Tough.
Okay.
All right. Next up, speaking of rest, Adam, thought maybe you were previewing some rest. Bye week, week 8, right in the middle of the season. And I would consider that a good bye.
It's not a bad bye. It's definitely a good bye. It's always tough to say goodbye to your team in the middle of the year for a week and watch the rest of the league play, but it does take the stress off because you're going to go undefeated against the bye week. So that's always fun. But as you stated, Brandon, having it right in the middle of the season, that feels advantageous, especially when there are going to be a lot of young players that are going to be injected into this roster throughout the year after this big draft class. Have 7 weeks to get the NFL under your belt a little bit, take a breather for a week, figure it all out, and then come back ready to rock. I think it's going to be nice, Clinton. I'm pretty happy with a week 8 bye.
Well, I love it. I love the placement. Feels good. Love that first and foremost. And also, look, this would have been a short week because we play Monday Night Football, but now it ain't. So we get Monday Night Football. We get a bye. Cool. That's I think excellent timing. So both where it's placed and the fact that we eliminate what would have been another short week for ourselves, but nope, we get a nice 13 days off. Sweet.
Well, and with that being our only Monday Night Football game, that would be apart from the Thursday night short week games, then that's going to be the only opportunity for a short week game. And next up, plenty of rest, guys, for the Washington Commanders, one of the top teams in the NFC last year, made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. One of the better offenses that at least last year, if they kind of hold serve in terms of their ability on offense, this could be a very compelling game. So compelling that it is back-to-back primetime games for the Seahawks with a bye week in between, but Sunday Night Football against the Commanders. Adam, how do you like that coming out of the bye?
It's going to be an exciting game. One of the things about the Commanders that I think will be interesting to see this year is they were one of those teams that went from worst to, a respectable place in their division, just because they've really benefited from a last place schedule last year. And this year, obviously, they ain't sneaking up on nobody. We saw the thing that happened with CJ Stroud last year and kind of taking a step back. That often happens for quarterbacks. I'm not saying that's going to happen for Jaden Daniels. I'm just saying that it's a possibility. And I know they went out and they got Debo, so we get to see Debo again in that game. Not super excited about that, but I think he's probably on the tail end of things there. They try to shore up the offensive line by grabbing Tunsil from the Texans. And we'll see if Dan Quinn can keep it rolling. And we've all enjoyed Dan Quinn over the years. And, somebody that's near and dear, I think, to most Seahawks fans, because, he was a heck of a coach for us. So another fun one, Clinton.
Well, yeah, fun ones that Brandon texted me today. Said, "Hey, I have a slideshow ready." Didn't say that he had just banger after banger of image choice with Cobra Commander here. So Brandon, hat tip to you. That's just tremendous. You're doing a great job.
I didn't make it up. I stole it from somebody on the internet. So
this is Tommy Lee Jones and the Fugitive, Brandon. I don't care. This is your presentation. You done good. So this is probably the toughest game on the schedule. It's away. Again, weather gods, very early November in the Mid-Atlantic is not that bad. It could be rainy, of course, but that's always the case. Crappy field, so hopefully it's a really bad field. So hopefully it's good weather. We'll see. With that, guys, if we're coming off of a bye week after a Monday Night Football game, guess what? The Commanders are not so lucky. They play Monday Night Football the week before they play Sunday Night Football.
Against the Eagles. No,
yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I think it's actually the Niners or something like that. But hey, they're on a short week. We're on a bye week. Cool. And as far as things, we had to play them sometime. So as far as those things line up, I just, okay, slight advantage Seahawks. Not saying we're going to be favored in this game, but those things are better than if they were the opposite. So, but Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback that we play on our schedule, and it's going to be tough regardless.
Well, coming up is the game against the Arizona Cardinals, Week 10. Kyler Murray. This is let's see, is it going to be post bye week for the Cardinals or post Call of Duty? That should be post Call of Duty release, Kyler. So we know that that's generally worked out for us historically.
That's super funny. What a great graphic too. Yeah, I mean, we talked about the Cardinals earlier, and they always seem to like to play spoiler for us down the stretch if we're in the mix and trying to make a push, and like we'll lose some dumb game to the Cardinals. Go down the stretch. I like having them out of the way relatively early in the schedule going forward. That's a nice thing there.
Yeah. Not much else to say about this one, except for, we got to play them twice. This is the home one. This is one of those games where these are the types of games we got to win. Like last year, we were just so disappointing at home and we were really good on the road. So can we keep the road magic going? We'll see. But these are the types of games where you just can't lose to the Cardinals at home. So got to have it. And I don't got much else to say about that one. I'm still laughing about your graphic, Brendan.
Top Water saying, are we usually good or bad after the bye? That one's kind of TBD, especially with Mike Macdonald as head coach. I feel like with Pete Carroll, we had a pretty strong record post-bye, which that started to slip toward the tail end of his time in Seattle. But leading up to that, pretty good. And then last year, I think it was about 50-50. So
yeah, I think you're right. I did think of one quick thing. Mike Macdonald year one versus the Cardinals. I mean, it was defensive dominance versus the Cardinals, and that was year one. So a couple more players. You bring in DeMarcus Lawrence. You bring in some new dudes like Imanwari, and get Murphy in year two. Macdonald very much got the better of Gannon's play callers and Murray last year. There was that game in Arizona fairly late in the year where it was kind of like 6-3 late, and then Seattle broke it open and just ran away with the game in the third and fourth quarter. It was just pure domination. One of the best games we played all year. Remember the Cardinals were like kind of hot. They were like in first place for a hot minute last year. And then we took them right back down. It was that game. So I'm looking forward to seeing if Macdonald can just like own this team and just make them, be like the second class citizens that they are in the NFC West, because they're not very good still.
He's got a streak to continue. We are 7-0 over the last 7 games against the Cardinals. Got to keep that going. Wow. And we're going to be 9-0 heading into week 11 against the Los Angeles Rams. It'll be the first time that we face the Rams in the 2025 season. After we've got the Cardinals out of the way, now we've worked our way into a team that, Adam, we've kind of struggled against.
Yeah, we have. But this is exactly why Mike Macdonald was brought in. He was brought in to get this defense humming and to be able to slow down the McVay-led Rams. And we've seen glimmers of that here as his first season has unfolded. And now with everything they've done defensively this year, and with some of the second-year players taking a step up, I really like where this defense is at. And I think that they could really make it hell on the Rams. Now, what's fun to see, and maybe it won't be fun when it comes to week 11 and game time, is going to see the revamped O-line going against, Jared Verse and that other Florida State kid and all those guys. And that's going to be the real test. And hopefully by that point, Kubiak in his first year is kind of got the skids greased. And hopefully by that time, I'm on this podcast weekly, eating all the crow about Sam Darnold, about how great he's been, and definitely a Geno upgrade and all that stuff. And the offense is humming, we're running the football, and we take it to the Dirty Rams.
That would be delightful. The big thing, I'm going to harken back to what I was just saying about McDonald's, who really dominated the Cardinals. Well, in that game that we lost in overtime, which again, we couldn't get it, the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, couldn't get the yards. And there was that Geno pick 6, which was bad in the end zone. A lot of reasons we lost that game to the Rams. With that was the game where McVay suffered his most ever 3-and-outs. So Seattle produced the highest volume of 3-and-outs in the McVay tenure as a head coach. That's something to really, really build on. We kind of got gypped that the last game of the year didn't mean nothing, and they're playing scrubs, and it was a throwaway game. So we really only have one game that actually mattered in the Macdonald era, and our defense gave them fits. That was kind of where, at that point of the season, they pulled the game out, but the Rams were looking pretty wobbly, and Stafford was starting to look old. I've said it before, to his credit, he finished really strong and he had a good playoffs. So you tip the cap. But there was a stretch where it's like, all right, you're 37-year-old quarterback. We'll see. We shall see. But by week 11, how healthy is Matt Stafford? Because that will determine a lot of how close this game is, how competitive this game is.
I feel like it, no matter how beat up Stafford is, he always finds a way. So he's kind of one of those guys that, yeah, he's probably going to be beat up week 11, but he's probably still going to be out there and slinging it. So it's hard to count on, any type of injury with regard to Stafford. But we go from one of the older quarterbacks in the league to first-year quarterback Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans, week 12. Another early start time, and heading back out to the East Coast, facing Brian Callahan as head coach and Clinton. This is going to be fun to take on the number 1 overall pick in the draft with Cam Ward. This is one of the ones I think we kind of wanted early on in the schedule, because rookie quarterback early on in the season. We talked a little bit about it with Bo Nix in our schedule preview, but here it is, week 12, ends up being a little bit later in the season.
Yeah, I think the bright side, if we're going to go silver lining real quick, or silver gray lining, wolf gray, if we will, is that Tennessee in November is, again, weather-wise, usually pretty okay. It's 11/23. Thanksgiving is 11/27. Last time they were in Tennessee, I think it was Christmas Eve, and it was like, oh, crap, we can't make that one. But, boys, I don't know about you. I'm putting a little asterisk next to this one that, to me, this might be the road trip of road trips, and it's at a really fun time of year too. So I would love to go to Nashville, and this one feels like it's possible. It'd be cool to go see Cam Ward. Again, it's another team that I don't think they're very good. I don't see that much talent across the board. Okay defense, not really dynamic on offense yet. Things can change quickly, but I think, Adam, the biggest thing is, by November 23rd, could you see Cam Ward and the Titans being in the groove the Broncos were in by this time last year with Bo Nix?
No, not like that. But let us not forget, this is the Tyler Lockett game. And I think this is probably going to be an L. I think Tyler's going to have like 12 receptions for like 180 and a touchdown, and we're all going to swoon and miss Tyler even more than we already do now. And this is one of the dumb losses on the schedule for like no reason. And, but as far as it being a fun road trip, Clinton, yeah, I'm in. I got some buddies in Tennessee. Tennessee is a great place. I'd like to go to this game, Brandon. We have you sold?
I feel like you guys are twisting my arm when you don't even need to twist it. Like it's week 12. It's a Seahawks game, and it kind of feels like the official road game of the Seahawkers podcast.
Oh, lovely. Decisions made. I love it.
Other than the loss part, that like I had us pegged as 10 and or 11-0 10-0 going into this game, but now 10-1 apparently going into the matchup with the Minnesota Vikings. I like your thinking there, because okay, you're not going to have an undefeated season. It knocks you off your game. Then you're headed in and taking on a Minnesota Vikings team that, last year their defense was strong. They were top 5 in defense. They were top 10 in offense. Kevin O'Connell, solid coach. Are they going to be able to retool with JJ McCarthy at the helm? That will be, we'll have to see about that. But Minnesota Vikings back home, week 13, revenge game for Sam Darnold.
Well, we saw Sam Darnold play well enough his last time in Seattle that he is now a Seattle Seahawks. So I would like to think that he's going to play well in this game. And it really does kind of all come down to where things are for JJ. It also felt like the Vikings defense started out really strong. And while it didn't get bad by the end of the year, it tailed off slightly. We'll see if that high blitz rate Flores stuff starts to kind of tail off towards the end of the year, and the offense is able to run the ball and kind of protect the defense there a little bit. I don't know. This is this is a solid team all the way around. Like, this is one of those teams, short of the life of a Vikings fan cycle, that I feel like matches up with Seattle quite well in their kind of mirror images of one another to a degree.
And it was a really good game last year. I know it was a loss. And like you said, we saw Darnold up close and personal connecting. I think it was with Justin Jefferson down the left-hand side late, and Addison had a good game as well, but they're just good. They are solid across the board. They have a pretty good litany of weapons. I'm also, for me, I know people are like, well, we don't know anything about JJ McCarthy. I don't know that I don't know anything about JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy is really good. And I realize most of that time is based on what he did in Michigan. But what he did in Michigan was he led the CFB in third down completion percentage. And so he was money when it mattered. When they had to throw the ball, he was really good. Then in their first preseason game last year, he looked awesome. And I realized it's against some dudes who are not going to be there, but he looked really good. He was in rhythm. Then he tears his knee, sucks for the young man, and he had to like have like two surgeries, like a surgery, then like a sub surgery, to go do a little cleanup. So it wasn't a great recovery. But by November 30th, you'd imagine JJ's back. I think he's a really good quarterback. So I think this is a very tough game, guys.
I'm a McCarthy believer. And yeah, we can see where he's at this point in the year. And they obviously feel comfortable enough with him that they didn't go out and bring in Aaron Rodgers, which really broke my heart because I was looking forward to buying a Jordan Love Vikings jersey, but because then it for sure was going to happen at some point. But yeah, this is going to be a fun game, man. And, you know, kind of tip of the cap too to Vikings fans. They've always been great to us anyways, like when we've had matchups and all that, and a franchise I respect.
Well, you can still get your Jordan Love Jets jersey because that still feels like a lock. But yeah, from the confines of our own home and a rowdy Lumen Field down to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and a team that, you know, it generally hasn't been good. But Raheem Morris, maybe second year Raheem Morris, maybe he'll have this team. I don't know, looking a little bit stronger at him. How are you feeling going to face off against the Falcons?
I think Michael Penix is going to have a nice year. I think that they're going to struggle to run the football despite having Bijan with the offensive line. They lost, I want to say they lost their center and maybe another offensive lineman.
Yeah, they lost their center.
They took a wild swing. I mean, a relatively wild swing for a pass rusher in the draft. I don't know that they fully addressed that huge need for them. And I think by week 14, that graphic of lose all hope that you had for the Vikings, that you should have just copy and pasted that for the Falcons, because this is when there will be nobody in the stands, because there never is by that time of year, because they're an awful fan base and that terrible stadium. And we just talked about the Vikings, a franchise I respect. I don't think that I could have less respect for a franchise than I do the stupid Atlanta Falcons. I can't wait to drum them by like 40 points. Screw these guys.
I just hope Adam's right. I see it a little differently. I look at a team led by Penix now that almost made the playoffs last year. And with Penix in for a really hobbled Kirk Cousins, they were just different. They were immediately much better, as you might imagine, with a young quarterback who could really throw the ball all over the field. And it improved across the board. Like even Kyle Pitts was like serviceable tight end, and he's been a disaster. He really, for that pedigree, he's been a disaster as a first round pick. But he was even getting, I think he caught that pass against the Commanders to tie the game up very late, or get it very close. But Drake London's been very good. Bijan is solid. They still have a good offensive line. We'll see how they recover from losing some dudes. That'll be interesting. Defensively, I'm not sure we're scared of the Falcons yet, guys. They're going to have to prove that they could generate pressure, because last year they couldn't generate any pressure. They take a double swing and they trade their first round pick for 2026 with the Rams and get back in and grab Pierce. We'll see. I mean, first year edge guys don't tend to be game wreckers. Not
if they're not
usually.
like a top 3
Yeah,
pick,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And even then it's like, okay, sometimes they take a year or two to develop, but right. If they're not like the dude who's going in the top 5, it's usually like, all right, well, maybe he'll develop, but we don't know. So, interesting offseason to not really go target, actually Trey Hendrickson. Sheesh. If there's a place to trade your second for next year and not your ready to trade your first, the Falcons actually should trade for Trey Hendrickson. That would solve a lot of issues.
We've got Daniel Smith coming in saying, what's the median age of quarterbacks for playing? 24. Stafford's wrecking that number, but everyone else practically first or second year. And we kind of knew that just looking at the opponents going into this, but it does kind of solidify that as you go through the schedule. It's like a lot of young quarterbacks. And before we move on, Clinton, you recognize either of these two people in the photo as the ones who tried to jump you during your time in Atlanta?
No.
No, they look like perfectly fine, law-abiding folks.
They
just chose a crappy team to root for. That's their only personality flaw.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you, like, bringing that up, Brandon, and seeing if I could point them out in the crowd. But no, especially that lady. That lady definitely
she looks like she could conceal like a switchblade, though.
I'm sure she could. In fact, I think she is in this photo, but no, she did not jump me. I cannot accuse her of that.
Yeah, I'm way more afraid of her than I am of dude. He's got on like party beads and he's got a flag. He's a good time. She looks like she could cut somebody. Yeah,
he's got a lot going on. You're right. He's got the party beads. He's also he's still got like a Live Strong bracelet, so he's still got that on there. Which is, that's a choice. I'm not. I'm going to say this is a photo just from last year, and that guy's had a Live Strong bracelet on for like 15 years now.
Yeah. Committed.
Flying the rise up flag sitting down. I don't think that should be allowed, but that's probably how they do it.
That is the most fitting thing ever for a Falcons fan. I love it.
Well, one of the things that's fitting for the Indianapolis Colts and the 2014 AFC finalists is celebrating subpar mediocrity. And we are facing Shane Steichen. And who knows, Adam, who's going to be the quarterback come week 15 when the Colts come rolling into Seattle.
In terms of who wins that job between Daniel Jones and AR,
I mean, it's how many times will the job switched up by this time of the year?
As many times as Daniel Jones gets injured, because he's winning that job. Like, as bad as Daniel Jones is, he's light years ahead of AR in terms of throwing the football. So I think he's probably going to win that job. I haven't been a Anthony Richardson guy since he came out in the draft, and everything that worried me about his tape and everything in college, all 7 games of it, or how many it was, they all have just manifested itself in the league. And man, this is such a confusing franchise. I think if they just would have chosen just about any other quarterback in the last like 2 to 3 years, other than Anthony Richardson, they'd probably be a lot better. But because they can't seem to get the quarterback spot right, they're wasting a pretty good defense. You got Jonathan Stewart there in the backfield. I know that they're having some change on the offensive line. My boy Will Fries ends up leaving. Ryan Kelly leaves the center. It's a team that I don't feel like is in a upward trajectory, Clinton. This better be a dub.
This team's kind of a disaster right now, right? So you don't know where the heck they're going. We talked about this a little bit, Brandon. It might have been you and I, but like I forget which episode when we're talking about, like, look, Seattle deserves credit for having so much change, and yet most people are like, all right, this is a pretty good squad. Maybe even better. Obviously, things will tell with Sam Darnold. Yet then you've got other teams that are on our schedule that they're a disaster. And I put the Colts into that category. Now, by this time of the year, do they figure it out a little bit? And they are the Colts, so they always they'll somehow win 7 games because they're the Colts. But this is not a very good football team. Has to be a W. Just it's as simple as that.
Well, now that the 2025 NFL schedule is out, the folks who book the 2025 Furry Convention can put December 18th on their calendar to house all of the furries, so that way they can shack up at the same hotel as the LA Rams, who are coming to town week 16, Clinton.
Yes, great stuff, Brendan. Love that. Yeah, so this is fun. The last time, I think it's the last time that we played the Rams at home on Thursday Night Football. I was there with one Flocktimus Prime, a la Keith Ketover, and that was talking about Tyler Lockett. That was the Lockett catch game where Russ does a scramble, throws the ball to the back of the end zone, and Lockett makes the catch of his career. And that was an amazing W and really, really cool. That was 2019. So with that, this is going to be a huge game, guys. This kind of has the feel of potentially being division shaping type of thing. So us having a chance to play the Colts, and was the Colts, that's home as well. Is that right? We get to stay up here. Yeah. So we're home against the Colts. It's a short week, but we don't have to travel. Okay. That's a big benefit. On the other side of that, Rams are coming off of a game versus the Lions, and then they got to travel. So cool. Like, so if you know, these are okay things when you start stacking them up and they matter maybe on the edges. I like where it points, and there's not much else to say about the Rams, but I think they're a pretty good football team, and I respect them. They're good.
Yeah. Back-to-back home games here. So you're playing a relatively supposedly weak Colts team at home, get to stay at home, be ready to rock against the Rams. Bring in the furries again. I'm not so sure though, because it hasn't seemed to affect the Rams performance. I think we need to go with another con, like a Comic-Con or a Star Trek con, something like that. Right. Like let's bring in the Trekkies. Maybe that'll throw them off their game a little bit more than the furries do, because look at them. They're adorable. Like, it's hard to get thrown off by that. I mean, look at that. They look like they're having a good time.
Yeah, got to switch it up. It's probably time. We'll figure it out. Week 17, back on the road, closing out the season with 2 games on the road back-to-back, and traveling to the East Coast and the Carolina Panthers, facing a familiar Dave Canales, who is going into his second year as head coach of the Panthers, former quarterback coach here in Seattle for Russell Wilson. Only a 5-12 record, not a great defense. Adam, can that defense improve from number 32 last season?
I mean, maybe. I guess I'm not completely familiar with their defensive offseason. I'm not going to lie. I don't spend a lot of time on the Carolina Panthers, mainly because they're just terrible. And until they change the owner, I'm not sure that they can make anything better for the long term. Now, I understand that Bryce Young looked better down the stretch, and Clinton likes to give him credit for about 5 more good games than he actually played. That's fine. But with that said, I think we're going to see him revert back to closer to what we saw year one, just because he is so limited physically in terms of arm strength and mobility. I am not a believer at all. I think this is about this point in the season. Unfortunately for Canales, I think his seat's going to be getting a little warm with a very impatient owner, and I don't see them making some huge jump this year.
So, as like Gotham believes in Harvey Dent there, Brandon, I believe in Dave Canales. I think, and I'm not saying, Adam, you probably do as well, but with the patience and hey, if you just don't have the quarterback, you don't have the quarterback. Yeah. You can't make a chicken salad out of it all the time. And, I'm not going to overplay the hand here. I think Bryce Young showed the Panthers that there could be something there. So that's a lot of uncertainty. And this is way late in the year. So by this point, we'll know a ton. Will it be possible that the Panthers are a bit more feisty and week 17, they're hanging around like, hey, if we run the table and we catch a break or two, we could be a wild card team? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. It could be, that's kind of their ceiling, right? Let's hope for the opposite. Let's hope by week 17, they're in a bit of disarray and we get to take advantage of that. But that's so far out with so many variables. I just like Canales. I think he'll get the most out of the talent. But it's just a huge question mark as to how talented is that quarterback.
Yeah. Toward the end of last season, they were out of it, but they finished strong. They won 2 of their last 3 games, and they did it in overtime for both of those wins. And so even if they are out of it, I don't think you can count out Dave Canales and and the Panthers because they played teams like the Cardinals and the Falcons tough, but then they lost to a legit playoff team in the Bucks and got destroyed 48-14 in Week 17 last year. So did they do enough on defense? Is adding Bobby Brown from the Rams in the middle, is that going to help them out that much? Patrick Jones on the outside to be outside linebacker from Minnesota. I mean, and they add Trevon Moehrig from the Raiders to the secondary. It's just, even the additions, they don't look super scary. Their best defensive pick, because they went defense after going Ted McMillan at receiver in the first round. They get Nick Scorton to add on the other. He's filling in behind Patrick Jones potentially. Anyway, those are going to be the two fighting it out for that pass rushing spot. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to be quite enough to really bolster that defense. But yeah, Misfit 74 saying Derek Brown. He's one good defender on that defensive line you probably have to worry about.
Yeah. Look, Brandon, you said you can't rule out the Panthers. I can, and I just did. So I'm not worried about this game. I'm so glad that we have this game to be coasting with our division lead and going into a Week 18 showdown with our backups playing a completely decimated San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan, they're going to be calling for his firing. There's going to be more injuries this year. He's got to have a hard time kind of putting it all back together after such a tumultuous offseason. This is going to be a coronation to a fantastic season for the Seattle Seahawks as we watch Jalen Milroe go out for his first start of the year and look surprisingly good, and everybody's going to be excited.
Well, it's going to be against a San Francisco defense that, gosh, you have the question marks of last season. That was one of the things that kind of surprised me as I was putting together the schedule preview, is that just how many points that Niners defense gave up last year. 436, which was the third worst in the NFL last year. So obviously they address that by going defense heavy in the draft, Clinton, but by the end of the year, are they all going to be working together and have that defense figured out under Shanahan?
Yeah. Who knows, right? I mean, they take Alfred Collins, they take CJ West. I think those are good picks that do bolster that line and allow, hopefully they're doing it so they could give Bosa a chance of doing wrecking things as he can. With that, I don't know, guys. Again, Vegas has the 49ers winning the division, and they over under at 10.5, and the entire league-wide narrative at 6-11 last year was that they got unlucky. That's the narrative. It's like, oh, they were just unlucky. They were unlucky. Mm-hmm. They were bogged down with injury, and if only this, if only that. I don't know. I don't think they were very good. And while I do expect their defensive line to be a little bit better, maybe they were decimated in free agency. The cupboards were robbed, and they did not have a big free agency going the other way. And their draft was okay. I think that some of the stuff I like, but I mean, I can't for the life of me understand why people think this is a contending team. Like 2-3 years ago, it was like, oh, you could kind of pencil them in for a deep playoff run and they might be the Super Bowl favorites. And then, they blew it in the Super Bowl, which is awesome. They're nowhere near that team at this point. Nowhere near it. I think they're on the downhill. Adam, you've been calling for it for a couple of years now. I'm hopeful that you nailed this one, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be a real surprise to this poor child in Mongolia when he realizes that the Niners missed their window and they were indeed not champions at any point since 93 or something like that, 92 or whatever. 94. Okay, very good. Yeah, it's going to be a real bummer for that kid to know that he was lied to. But at the end of the day, yes, this is the unraveling of the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, Shanahan, I think he had a tough time last year with the noise that was around the team. I think it's going to be even louder this year, especially after they're going to give Purdy some contract that most of us are going to go, oh, okay, that's a decision you can make, I guess. And I think it's going to be difficult for him to be able to duplicate some of his previous success. I mean, we're talking about Ayuk coming off of the ACL, and we've seen most guys, not every guy's Adrian Peterson. Most guys coming off a knee, it takes them like a whole nother year to like kind of trust the knee and look like what they were before the injury. And I think Ayuk was wildly overrated before the injury. So you got him leading that receiving core. And then another year on Kittle, all banged up. McCaffrey, who knows about his Achilles, because it's all of them. I have big questions about this team, and they're going to be relying on a lot of rookies on defense. It'll be interesting.
Yep, Marlon saying a ton of questions on CMC, Trent, D-line, and does Ayuk come back at all? You kind of summarized that too there, Adam. A lot of questions. Unfortunately, probably not going to be any Super Bowl losing hats. If you're just listening in, there was a photo of a Mongolian kid, it says, wearing a 2024 Super Bowl champion hat. So we know that everything that gets produced ends up somewhere. And so, yeah, some kids overseas getting to sport their 49ers gear despite them not winning a Super Bowl. That would be kind of a fun piece of memorabilia to have.
Yeah, you can it's a shame cap, let the shame wash over you, right? If you need to pronounce it to the world. Poor kid. And I saw an article the other day that was talking about Purdy, in a sense, was saying that, the executives and the coaches within the 49er room believe that Mac Jones can be a starter once again in the NFL. And it's just out there as this article. It's like okay.
In the Tooth Fairy too?
But it's just a very funny thing. That article, unless it's just straight up false, which I can't say it was or was not, but it was out there. Articles like that don't just appear for no good reason. Usually there's something getting maybe dumbly, but floated out there. So maybe they're not ready to commit to Purdy and they want to kind of see a bit more before they go pay him 45 million, 50 million, 55 million. I don't know what they're thinking, but I don't, as much as I believe in Canales, I'm the opposite on Mac Jones. I don't think that guy's got the goods.
No, but there was that scuttlebutt around that draft that Shanahan liked Mac Jones better than Trey. Right. And I sounded like that maybe
you kind of hope that's the case by this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, not that either of them are any good. It's like, picking between two turd sandwiches, but at this point, there's no way that Mac Jones is a starter. If they do play with Purdy this offseason and refuse to pay the man his money, which is probably what I would do, I would trade him to the Steelers right now, like for a third, if I were the Niners, if I was trying to be smart. But with that said, if they're not going to pay him the money, then I guess we're not seeing Brock Purdy week one, because I'm not going out there on Mr. Irrelevant salary for another year. I'm not doing it.
Nope.
There's no way.
Yeah. What are you missing out on by not going out there?
Like $7.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.